What does it take to break a man? Suguru Geto is the ideal Jujutsu sorcerer. He is strong, smart, dependable, obeys orders, and more importantly, believes in protecting the weak and powerless. On the surface, he is a flawless sorcerer. However, that very surface itself is flawed. For the Jujutsu Society is nothing but a system that keeps unrolling and using innocent teenagers to uphold a balance of exorcism and one of hierarchy and traditions. It is a society that fails the people living for it. The world of sorcery is grim and sad. You lose allies, you lose your life, or worse, you lose your sanity the longer you attempt to cling to it. Is it really your duty and responsibility to protect others simply because you were born with the special power to control what they can't control? How is it that I get to be the cleaner of society, getting rid of the filth that very society keeps creating? A cycle of death, a cycle of birth, a cycle of suffering, a cycle of swallowing and suppressing those very cycles. Geto's beliefs were steadfast and righteous. He bumped heads with Gojo, who showed selfishness and carelessness when it comes to the weak. Geto protected the weak. Reality was simply not a place where ideals can be perfect.
帰ろうリコちゃん
Amanai Riko was shot in the head in front of Geto when she was only 14 years old, while he was extending his hand to save her from a miserable fate and protect her innocence. Her smile was cut short and her blood ran next to his feet. In shock and grappling with coming to terms with the possibility of having lost his best friend. Death is sudden and shocking. It's instant and unforgiving. The death of Geto's beliefs, that is. Haibara Yu was only 15 when his body was cut in half and laid cold in front of Geto, while his junior, Nanami, grieved and grappled with leaving the world of Jutsu altogether. Haibara was too innocent, too lively and lovely. He worked hard as a first-year sorcerer to help and keep his sister outside of the cycle of Jujutsu. Now his blood covers Geto's hand and serves as nothing but a source of nightmares for him. Geto lost Gojo as well ever since that day. His ascendance was one that created a gap between them, a separation of the two strongest sorcerers. Now the title of the strongest is no longer shared between them, and the life of sorcery became too dull and mild for Geto. While Gojo is excited by and explores his new powers and growth, Geto despises his and gets fed up with them.
腹取り込むその繰り返し腹取り込む
Not even Gojo's eyes could see that his friend was in dire need of him. Riko died because she was a rare vessel for a human that maintains the country's barriers and balance. People wanted her dead because they were against that balance. Others wanted her dead because they worshipped and revered an individual. Either way, she was killed for nothing she did. An unfair and sudden death. Haibara died because the higher-ups failed in assessing the difficulty of the mission and the grade of the curse, and just like that, his life went out. Because of a mistake, because of a malfunction in the cog of a system that already saw no value in his life in the first place. All built up on the idea that sorcerers should protect non-sorcerers. The very idea that Geto started to hate, and hate himself for even believing in it. Geto's descent into madness was a perfect psychological blend of realism and the cursed insanity of Jujutsu Kaisen, a shattering of moral codes and a reaction to a grim reality. Toji Zenin was the shatterer and the wake-up call, the monkey with no cursed energy who self-servingly, literally broke the chains of fate that linked Gojo, Tengen, and the star plasma vessel. Toji allowed Kenjaku to play his card right. Toji caused Gojo's awakening. Toji caused Geto's decline. Everything in this story was kick-started by he who left it all behind, by he who was looked down on and ridiculed by an extension of the very tradition and conservative system that roped in everyone in the story. Not even the breaker of chains escaped them. While Gojo tried to replace the imperfection of the system from within, Kenjaku tried to evolve it through chaos. Yuki attempted to get rid of the need for it. Toji escaped it. Riko and Haibara fell victim to it. But Geto? He rejected it all. He created his own haven. All of the build-up after the incident led Geto to drastically change his life through actions. After witnessing an ally die for absolutely no reason, the way non-sorcerers have too much control and selfish firm hold on his life, the unfair treatment of two young sisters by those very non-sorcerers, the curse oozing from their cursed pointing fingers, and the harsh words uttered by their blaming mouths. Geto unleashed hell that one night in that village, killing everyone and choosing to value and protect the lives of those two little girls instead. No one cared about sorcerers other than their comrades, so Geto embraced that exception and lived by it. Geto's answer was to project his anger into those he was told to protect. A mix of pride and a sense of camaraderie between those who would otherwise be outcasts. You're either a sorcerer or you're a criminal curse user who operates outside of the bounds of society. Both routes are cursed anyways, so be it. At least Geto chose the one in which his actions were more meaningful to him. Geto's philosophy was one easy to relate to and personally attach oneself to. He provided the simplest way to escape and cope with the cycle of cursed energy, the cycle that uses sorcerers as replaceable cogs and nothing more. One with no moral obligation to take care of the weak, one where you don't have to risk your and your allies' lives for someone not worth it. I talked about the concept of kegare and impurity in previous videos. Juryaku, or cursed energy, is impure energy. It's negative emotions that leak, form up together, and give birth to cursed spirits. It's through controlling it that a sorcerer can use it. In Geto's eyes, sorcerers were worth more than normal humans because they are beyond that mindless negative energy and decay that normal humans subjugate themselves to subconsciously. We see characters submerged in water or other liquids to purify themselves in moments of awakening or complete change. Geto stands as the droplets of water hitting the bathroom's floor remind him of the grinning faces and clapping sound of Tengen's followers, celebrating the death of a young innocent girl because they pursue the divination of an individual. Curse them all. Geto will not live for their sake. They are not worth spilling his and his comrades' blood. The problem with Geto is that he does not have enough strength to make the change he wants in the world. That's his one weakness. If there is any reason that would make Geto jealous of Gojo, it would be exactly that. Are you Geto because you aren't Gojo? If they switched sides, no one would really say Gojo was an insane lunatic. They would rather fear him instead. Geto's dream wouldn't be just a fantasy, and he says this exact thing to Gojo. Geto leaves the society, makes his own, and his hatred towards non-sorcerers only grows. When the time comes and Geto sees a chance to bolster his power and make a move, he acts on it. Orimoto Rika, the Queen of Curses, would be a very welcome addition to his arsenal of curses. However, Okotsuyuta has to die in order for him to be able to capture and manipulate her. The Night Parade of 100 Demons is Geto's all-out war against the Jujutsu Society. Thousands of curses were released in 2 cities, serving both as a war for himself, an expression of his idea, but also as a distraction to acquire Rika. The Night Parade of 100 Demons, or Hyakyagyo, is a legendary event in Japanese folklore and mythology, where demons and spirits take to the streets dancing and singing and wreaking havoc, a night of pure pandemonium. In Kyoto, Japan hosts a yearly night parade where people cosplay and take part in it. There is a brilliant retelling in the traditional story form where 100 stories of ghosts and strange occurrences are told. That's the inspiration behind the night in Jujutsu Kaisen, a cursed night orchestrated by a criminal where sorcerers of all levels and from all places clashed against curses and other sorcerers. The cursed child bound by twisted love versus the revolutionary maniac guided by selfishness. Essentially 2 pieces of one coin. Each of them loves and believes in protecting comrades and friends. The execution was where they differed. Was Geto's fight against Yuta pointless, or was his dying smile, empty of regrets, enough reason to deem his attempt at change respectable at the very least? He valued people like him as friends, but ended up dying by the hands of his closest friend, his only real one. Gojo was always closer to madness than Geto. He tasted cursed energy before him. He awakened before him. He asked Geto if it was alright to kill those very clapping monkeys, since he won't feel a thing at that state. Yet it was Geto who stopped him and used reason to reason with him. Was a reason really needed? Gojo replied. It is arguable that Geto's inevitable downfall and him following his chosen route kept Gojo in check, and his death a reminder to his own choice, that of change from within. Gojo used his power to become a thorn in the very system, saving innocent lives like Yuta, Megumi, Maki, and Yuji from being crushed by it. Protect and raise them as allies. Geto went outside, yet Gojo did the same, but from within. Each man lived to himself and others because they chose to, not because they were forced to. Both became admired and respected by their allies. As cursed as he was, he had no regrets, since he lived true to his belief, as flawed as it was, and as mad as he was, and as cursed as he became. He was never the one to blame. Many thanks for watching.